Marc Marquez's dominance in the 2025 MotoGP season has really rocked the paddock. Not only is his speed and riding technique becoming increasingly mature, but the psychological impact is starting to be felt among his rivals. One of the most affected is Francesco Bagnaia, a two-time world champion who now seems to be losing his confidence. Marquez's former fierce rival, Andrea Dovizioso, has finally spoken out and revealed the surprising facts behind Bagnaia's mental pressure. So what exactly did Dovizioso say that shocked the MotoGP public? Let's discuss it. The 2025 MotoGP season is only 5 rounds old, but the tension and drama surrounding it is more than enough to make it the most emotional season in recent years. One of the most striking stories comes from inside the Ducati Lenovo garage, a factory team with 2 big names, Francesco Bagnaia and Marc Marquez. Francesco Bagnaia, the defending champion, seems to be living in his own shadow. 2 world titles, a string of brilliant victories and a status as a Ducati icon now seem to be eroded by the extraordinary pressure coming from a new figure in the garage, Marc Marquez. Andrea Dovizioso, Marquez's former rival and MotoGP legend, has finally spoken out, revealing another side to the story that may not have been apparent to the public. Pico's problem is not with his bike. It is with his mind, said Dovizioso openly. He doesn't look free. It's as if something is constantly pressuring him. According to Dovi, Bagnaia is no longer the calm and confident figure he was in previous seasons. Now he tends to be hesitant, cautious, and often slow to make decisions on the track. The cause? Marc Marquez. Marquez is not only the fastest rider at the moment, but also a teammate who intimidates in silence. With a short front fork it is fast, with a long fork it is fast, with the suspension it is also fast, said Dovi. He highlighted Marquez's extraordinary flexibility and adaptation to the Desmosedici GP25 bike. And now the pressure is compounded by the presence of Alex Marquez, Marc's younger brother, who managed to steal the spotlight with a phenomenal victory in Jerez, while Bagnaia finished third. The spotlight is now on Bagnaia's position, which is starting to falter. In the first 5 races Pico only won once, when Marquez crashed at the American GP. The rest of the time he continued to struggle. Not only did he lose to Marc, but he also lost to Alex. A situation that led Andrea Dovizioso to conclude, Pico is now carrying the burden that he should have shared. But Marc has taken on all the leadership roles in the team. As if the pressure wasn't enough, what Marc Marquez did in Jerez proved that the mentality of a true champion cannot be broken, even by a crash. In an intense duel with Bagnaia on lap 20, Marquez crashed hard in a fast corner. You would have thought the race was over for him. But no. With a badly damaged bike, a broken left wing, a scratched fairing and the lower part rubbing against the asphalt, Marquez returned to the track. And not only that, he fought back. His time was just 0.137 seconds behind Bagnaia, who was riding a bike in top condition. Even Ducati test rider Michel Pirro was stunned. It's technically impossible, he said, looking at the telemetry data. No simulation can explain it. Marc has gone beyond logic. The action was witnessed firsthand by Alex Espargaro, who could only shake his head. He passed me as if the bike was not broken. He was like a monster. Marquez eventually finished 12th, scoring just 4 points. But for Ducati and the world, he wrote a story much bigger than the standings. He showed determination, grit, and the soul of a true fighter. The contrast has been stark in the Ducati garage this season. While Marc Marquez received heroic praise for his spectacular on-track performances, Francesco Bagnaia was the target of criticism, not from the media or outside observers, but directly from people within the Ducati camp itself. The tone of disappointment and disillusionment that was hard to hide began to be heard loudly, especially from the team bosses who had been Bagnaia's main supporters. Ducati course general manager Davide Tardozzi was outspoken in his frustration at the defending champion's performance. "We expected more from Pico," said Tardozzi in a post-race interview. "We wanted to see him like he was in the first 3 laps, aggressive, brave and confident in overtaking Marquez. Not a rider who is content to be third without any significant resistance." Tardozzi highlighted not only the final result, but also the context that made the result even more disappointing. Bagnaia finished behind Alex Marquez, a result he considered unacceptable for a factory rider, especially when his main rival, Marc Marquez, crashed out of contention for the podium. That moment should have been a turning point, a golden opportunity for Bagnaia to take control, lead the race and send a strong message that he is still the ruler of Ducati. Instead he looked defensive, as if he had lost direction and confidence. Equally sharp criticism came from Ducati president Claudio Domenicali. The man always known for his calm did not hesitate to praise Marc Marquez to the skies, and indirectly take a swipe at Bagnaia. "Marc is exceptional. He shows the true Ducati spirit," said Domenicali in admiration. "Even when his bike was having problems, he kept fighting until the last lap. That's the warrior DNA we're looking for." The statement seemed to be a slap in the face for Bagnaia, who has been accused of losing his passion and competitive fire in recent races. While Marquez, a newcomer to the Ducati factory team, was able to adapt immediately and even dominate, Bagnaia looked shaky and inconsistent. The statistics increasingly highlight the striking difference between the two. Marc Marquez has recorded 5 sprint race wins, 3 main race wins and 4 pole positions in just the first 5 rounds of the season. An impressive and almost undeniable record, especially for a rider who has not even ridden half a season with Ducati Lenovo. It is becoming increasingly clear that Francesco Bagnaia's biggest challenge in the chase for the 2025 MotoGP World Championship is no longer just who is in front of him on the track, or who is shadowing him from behind. The real challenge lies in the most difficult place to reach: himself. Not only does he have to fight his rivals, but also the fear that is slowly eating away at his confidence. Fear of failure, the pressure to always perform perfectly as a team leader, and, most troubling of all, the shadow of Marc Marquez that grows larger by the day, like an invisible giant standing on his shoulders, constantly watching, constantly pushing. If he cannot overcome the storm within, 2025 could be more than just a failed title shot. It could be a turning point that determines the direction of his entire career going forward, a point where the reigning champion becomes a shadow of his former self. Andrea Dovizioso, one of the most experienced figures in the paddock, reminds us that it is not just about who is fastest on the straights or who is bravest in the corners. Speed can be trained. The bike can be perfected. But the mentality of a champion can only be shaped by crisis, by suffering, by the pressures that come one after the other. And if Bagnaia fails to rise above this shadow, history will not record him as a champion who was eliminated by the power of his rival alone. History will write 2025 as the year when the champion fell not because of speed, not because of machinery, but because of pressure. Pressure that comes from within, that silently destroys self-confidence, like a small crack that eventually brings down the entire foundation. On the other hand, the name of Marc Marquez will continue to resonate, not only because he is the fastest, but because he has become a symbol of an eternal struggle. Marquez fights not only with the best bike or a brilliant strategy, but with all his spirit and soul. In any situation, in the midst of any difficulty, he always shows one thing: that the mentality of the champion is not to never be afraid, but to keep moving forward despite being haunted by that fear. He fights until his last breath, with a determination that no one can defeat. Not even by statistics. Not even by fate. Now all eyes are on Francesco Bagnaia. Can he rise above the pressure and prove himself a champion? Share your thoughts below.